That is Grant Udinski speaking with Ari Myrov before the season about his experience with Kevin O'Connell, joining us on the Wester Hotline. Good morning, it's Jeremy and Joe. Matthew Coller, former morning show producer, host. I almost said producer extraordinaire, but I don't want to give you too much of a compliment, Matthew. Now host of Purple Insider and the website Purple Insider. He's everything Vikings. He's the authority on the Vikings, and he joins us on the Wester Hotline. Matthew, good morning.
You know, I think anybody who got Howard to break at relatively the right time deserves a lot more credit than you're trying to give me here.
Yeah,
but what's going on, man?
He still comes in here once a week and sends us to break 8 minutes late.
That's right. It happens all the time. Not much. The Bills are in a coaching search, as you well know. And you were the first person I texted when Grant Udinski's name came up as a candidate. And it was not, like I didn't know him all that well. It's like, oh, he's the Jags guy. It was a trip to Wikipedia that brought me to, Minnesota, Kevin O'Connell, and then to you. And your words rung very loudly. The future McVay, that some people think he is future McVay. So what did you learn about Grant Udinski? And take us through like the processes kind of that he did there when he's in Minnesota with Sam Darnold as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an interesting story because Kevin O'Connell was not familiar with Grant Udinski at all, and it was actually former Buffalo Bills defensive coordinator Mike Pettin who said to Kevin O'Connell, who's kind of his mentor, Kevin O'Connell's mentor when he first got the job. Pettin said, I think you want to interview this kid for this, assistant job that you have. And O'Connell's like, well, I kind of got somebody else for it, but okay, let me get on a phone call with him and see. And then hired him after talking with him, which kind of just gives you an idea of the impression that Grant Udinski leaves on people when they sit down with him. Remember when Tom Brenneman said that if you spent 5 minutes with Tim Tebow, it would change your life? It kind of feels like that.
Yeah.
Kind of feels like that when anybody talks about Grant Udinski. So then, he came in and they made him, the assistant to the assistant regional manager and something like that. And Kevin O'Connell compared that to like giving a kid a car wash job who could actually build the car. And, it was not very long before he was basically, in the liaison to, J.J. McCarthy, who was behind the scenes learning to play NFL quarterback while he was injured. And Grant Udinski was the guy that he was calling at 11 o'clock at night with questions and things like that. And he was kind of the do-it-all, everything, like right-hand man for Kevin O'Connell, and they were attached at the hip. And O'Connell would, constantly mention Grant Udinski to the point where it almost kind of became a little bit of a joke for us. Like, man, like every single time he talks about anything with Sam Darnold and the offense and quarterback development, he's bringing up, Grant over and over again. And, I mean, my thought was that he would sort of develop into someone that they move slowly up the ranks, like a Kevin Stefanski, and then 5 years later we would eventually see him, getting some attention. And then Liam Cohen, who has the connection to Sean McVay as well, he had an interview with him with the Jaguars, and he decides to make him his offensive coordinator. So, I think that it says a lot about Grant Udinski and just, that type of person. I think Sean McVay, it's like a real recognizes real type of thing.
Yeah.
Like I think McVay and O'Connell and everybody from that tree sort of identifies somebody that's like them, somebody that fits in their type of culture that's as psychotic about football, but also I think are great, great, great communicators and people persons, if that's a way to put it. Like they really make personal connections with people beyond just like, hey, I know X's and O's. And I think that Grant Udinski fit in extremely well, and Kevin O'Connell was very sad to see him go. I think I said upset when I texted you, but I'd put it more of like dang, like I didn't think he was going to go that quickly.
Like he thought he had a secret weapon, but the secret is out on this guy. Matthew, like you mentioned McVay and O'Connell, and we've got a little bit of proof of concept in the NFL right now of hot shot, young offensive mind that also can captivate people. You're mentioning the Tom Brenneman story about Tim Tebow. I remember Andrew Whitworth talking about McVay and saying, like, when he got the job, we're like, who is this guy? And within 5 minutes, he's like, all right, I'm on board with whatever he says, I'm into. Is Kevin O'Connell similar to this? Like, when you say, like, all these guys kind of recognize this trait leader of men is a thing that a lot of people talk about with being a football coach. And a 30-year-old whiz kid doesn't always come across that way, yet McVay seems to get that. Is O'Connell of the same mind? Does it feel like Udinsky could, of course, be of the same kind of in the same vein?
Yeah, but the thing is, when you say whiz kid, I'm reminded of that scene in The Office with Ryan Howard where he's like, some people say wonderkind or whatever, and people think of this cocky young sort of thing, and I don't think that there's confidence. Of course, Kevin O'Connell played in the NFL, and Sean McVay is a very, very confident person. But I also think that there's humility to those guys as well. And when you talk about someone like Andrew Whitworth and his respect for McVay, Sean McVay actually said to our beat when the Vikings played the Rams that when he first arrived in Los Angeles, he told Andrew Whitworth, "Brother, I need you to help me coach this team because I'm new and I need your leadership." Understanding that you can't do this, alone. I'm not just going to come in and run the entire organization. I think that quote you pulled shows there's a humility with this too. There can't be an arrogance here that, I'm just going to be the dictator and I'm going to run this entire operation because I'm so genius. I think that, somebody like Udinsky saw from Kevin O'Connell how freaking hard this job is. And, I think we underestimate the jump from any coordinator, any position to head coach. So somebody like Grant Udinski, seeing that from Lee and Cohen, working so close to them, seeing from Kevin O'Connell, I think understands that. And if you want to have the respect of people like your veterans, the number one thing that these guys respect is knowledge of football. And, they're having spent so many hours with Kevin O'Connell. I sat down with him and he had him teach me one time for a story about route concepts, and my head was just spinning by the time I walked out of his office. I was like, okay, whatever we think we know, sitting at home watching TV, these guys spend 24/7 on this. So I think that there's different layers to that makes you a fit in that culture that, clearly Grant Udinski was from day one.
So does all of that give you the impression he'd be up to the Bills job? That's a head coaching job that will have immediate expectations.
Yeah, that's the hard part, right? You go to Jacksonville and it's go 9-8 and people are going to think that you did a pretty good job. And, it worked out extremely well for them. And Trevor Lawrence clearly clicked eventually with Liam Cohen. There might have been some, learning curve there. Obviously, it worked for Sam Darnold here. J.J. McCarthy was a different story because he was just not ready. And the Vikings, I think, overestimated what you can do. So I think that's kind of the point is that I think the Vikings flew too close to the sun in thinking that, our style of doing this, our system, our, whatever, communication ability, it'll work for everybody because it worked for Sam Darnold. And it didn't for J.J. McCarthy. But you're in a different situation there with, sky-high expectations. If you don't get to the Super Bowl, then you've failed, which is an absurdly high place to be. But I do think that, you're not, when you're talking about this guy's age, I think it would be brought up a lot. Is he mature enough? Has he been around enough? Has he this, and this? But I think once you meet the guy, if they decide to make him the head coach, that you're going to forget what his age is because I think you're going to see the maturity that Grant Udinski has. But it is a hell of a task to walk into. That is a job that no matter how much you follow around Kevin O'Connell, you're the one that they call at 4 a.m. when Jordan Addison's decided to drive 140 miles an hour. You're the one when there's a conflict between, the person who works in the training room and a player. You're the one that the agent is calling. There's so much to that job that I think it's very, very hard to prepare anyone for it.
Yeah. Matthew Coller on the Western Hotline. He covers the Vikings, purpleinsider.com, and the Purple Insider podcast. I was going to ask one last thing about, Kevin O'Connell, I once asked you, he gets a lot of credit for it. You said the people person stuff, and the viral moment, he's walking out the field talking to Anthony Richardson, I think, and people kind of gave him a lot of credit for that. Here's someone that is always trying to lift others up. And I asked you, of all the coaches in the league, where would he rank for you? And you said, maybe McVay 1 and Kevin O'Connell 2. Has any of that taken a hit with what Darnold has been able to do? Like you said, the flew too close to the sun. How much are the Vikings wearing that with their fans right now?
Oh yeah, they're wearing it.
Okay,
I mean, this is compared here to the Herschel Walker trade. If people are not familiar with the Buffalo Bills losing all those Super Bowls, has a lot to do with the Vikings trading for Herschel Walker and giving $1 million draft picks to the Cowboys to build their dynasty. But with Kevin O'Connell, certainly there are a lot of coaches in the league that you would put way up there with McVay in terms of like schematics and how they run their team. Kyle Shanahan is certainly phenomenal. We've seen this from Mike McDonald, just been incredible. So there's a lot that are in that top tier of NFL coaches. I think with Kevin O'Connell, if I was picking coaches that I would want to play for, he's way up there. I think there are clearly blind spots, but I also think that they just made a catastrophic mistake based on a very small amount of information, and they had a plan to take advantage of the rookie quarterback contract, and the final impression that Sam Darnold left on them in 2024 was melting down in the playoffs, and they said, well, we're going to go to our kid that we drafted, and we're going to roll the dice, and it came up snake eyes because J.J. McCarthy was E.J. Manuel. If you compare their stats, 10 starts to 10 starts, side by side, first 10 starts, it's the same exact guy. It's the same exact questions. It's the same exact problems. And it was sort of the same thing of like, hey, maybe something's there. And they're like, no, not really. No, not really. So, and you never really know with quarterbacks.
Yep.
That's the thing, right? Like, do we ever really know? J.J. McCarthy in his 2024 training camp was phenomenal, and the knee injury set him back to square one, and I think that they thought he would pick up where he left off. I also think that they just did not maybe believe that Sam Darnold was good enough to make the Super Bowl, and that was their mistake. They thought our system and Justin Jefferson probably amplified his ability, but they forgot about what's attached to the right side of that guy. And they forgot what's also in the middle of that guy, which is the biggest damn heart of anybody that I've ever covered with Sam Darnold, because he went through so much freaking crap with seeing ghosts. I mean, the guy, every pass he'd throw for 10 years, seeing ghosts, seeing ghosts, seeing ghosts, seeing ghosts. And yet, you know what? All he did was keep working. He was a backup for a year. It was incredible. And I think that they underestimated how much hard it takes to play quarterback at that level. So it's been very, very cool to see him make it. But, yeah, you think the Vikings are kicking themselves?
Yeah.
They've been looking for a quarterback since the 70s, and now this guy they let go makes the Super Bowl.
Well, there's only one path forward, if you're asking me, and that's to trade Justin Jefferson. So I'll field. I'm ready to throw some offers your way. No, I don't anticipate that's going to happen. So
Jordan Addison, maybe.
No.
Jordan Addison, maybe.
Yeah.
If depending on are the state troopers still out there on the highway?
Yeah.
I need to buy him a driver.
Yeah. Matthew, thank you as always. And if they hire Udinsky, if you could, see if Kevin O'Connell will come join us. We'll chat with him if he's got time for it. Thanks, Matthew.
I promise you, if you ask, that he probably would, because that's how strongly he feels about Grant Udinski.
Really? All right. Well,
All right.
we'll keep that in mind. Thanks, Matthew.
Thanks, guys.
Matthew Coller. We're just going to ask for Kevin O'Connell if they hire Grant Udinski.
Yeah, let's do it.
We will.
Yeah.
Dibs. Tell the afternoon show. Dibs.
And then we can never have him again when we ask what it'll take to trade for Justin Jefferson.
He hangs up the phone.
Yeah.
I don't want to trade for Justin Jefferson. I mean, I kind of do, but
What?
No.
Come on.